Welcome back to a special edition of One Royal Way here at One Royal Way. We're at Coffin Stadium for Royals Rally here, joined by Royals reliever Lucas Erceg. Thanks for stopping by today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how was your off season? Was there anything that you kind of emphasized in your bullpens and stuff as you're getting ready for the 2025 season?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a different off season for me this year, just with our season getting extended into the playoffs. So I tried doing a better job of listening to my body, giving it the recovery that it needed, but also ramping up the intent when I felt that I could. So for the most part, it's been a really good off season for me. Physically, mentally. I'm really excited to kind of hone in on some of the issues where I felt like I could do better. Just more or less locating certain pitches in certain spots more consistently. But for the most part, it's just trying to stay healthy, trying to stay ready, and get into spring training with my feet on the ground. So.
Is there any sort of dead period that you give yourself? I mean, you're throwing a baseball 98 miles an hour with an unnatural motion. Like, is there any time where you just tell you're like, I need to cut it for a little bit just to give yourself a little bit of time before ramping back up? Or is there just even little bits of time where you're like, I got to do something just to keep it rolling?
Yeah, I think, and that goes into, listening to my body. I've kind of come to realize that the less time I gave myself off at the end of the season was a little bit more beneficial, so that I can kind of ramp up a little bit more slowly and gradually instead of waiting, taking a month off and then kind of trying to catch back up from November on. But I think, that just comes with experience and the guys that I'm around in the off season, they've been there. So, kind of just piggybacking off of what they do and see how they kind of gradually kind of work up with intent is a good spot to be in, right? Because I'm not that I don't want to say that I'm new to this anymore, because it's been 4 years now, right? Since I've started pitching, but I think I found a good foundation for myself, and each off season is a little bit different, obviously, but for the most part, I've kept consistent with what I wanted to achieve.
Nice. So this is a very broad question, so bear with me for a second. But your journey to the big leagues was so unique because you two-way in college, and then you get drafted as a position player. You go back into a little bit of two-way stuff, and then decide to go dive in full on, as a pitcher. What were some of the lessons that you learned about either baseball, yourself, anything like that throughout this unique journey that you've taken to get to this point?
Sure. Yeah, I think being drafted and being so young. I always felt like I was prepared enough, and but I didn't really understand what the process was going to look like on a season to season basis, right? You play so many games, even in the minor leagues, especially coming from college. It's hard to have trust in the overall picture. It's hard to see the picture, right? So I didn't really give myself the best opportunity to progress in the right ways. So I think when I started pitching, I kind of had to basically start from scratch, right? Because I'd immediately thrown into Double-A, and I remember in college being able to throw hard fastballs and kind of get away with leaving them over the middle of the plate, but I was rudely mistaken when
Pro hitters aren't missing those.
No, and I was getting shelled left and right, and I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. So I think at the same time, I was a little bit older. I was a little bit more mature. I kind of understood just from going through the process as a hitter that I needed to really focus on not so much the result, but what I wanted to achieve that day or that game, whatever it may be. So I think it worked out. I was able to actually allow myself to, have adversity, but deal with it in a better way, and not let it affect me as much. And obviously nobody wants to, have adversity, right? Everyone's out there competing. Everyone wants to win. But, I think there's value in, going through that adversity, because if you look at it the right way, it allows you, it shows you a path to more success. And that's what I kind of looked at it as. And it's worked out for me. up to this point, so why change it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I want to expand a little bit. You talked about, evolving as a pitcher a little bit and, knowing like, hey, I can't just blow 98 by guys
Sure.
throwing down the middle. How do you feel you've evolved as a pitcher over the last few years as you've solely focused on that now?
Yeah, I think, and I said this before, but everything it just comes with experience, right? You have to deal with the numerous different outcomes that come out of baseball, right? And that's what's beautiful about it. But I think at the end of the day, I just needed to trust my stuff, right? I had a hard time telling myself that my slider was a good pitch, and so I would try and command it. Like I would try and make it move more than it needed to, right? And that allowed hitters to kind of realize, hey, this guy's trying really hard to throw a slider for a strike, and the stats say that he only throws it for a strike like 15% of the time. So I'm just going to take, like, if I see the slider spin, I'm just going to take because the odds are in my favor. So I really went, into the last couple of off seasons of trying to just trust that my stuff is going to be good enough if it's in the zone. And so I really worked on just trying to fill up the strike zone and kind of, instead of being in 60% of the counts being 2-1, they're 1-2, right? And so now that puts me in the driver's seat to control the rest of the at bat. So that's been, kind of the main focus.
One of the reasons why the Royals were able to, go in September in that last couple, weeks of the season, get to the American League Division Series was, were able to lock down the ninth inning in a lot of those games. One of the debates that gets talked about a lot is whether those 3 outs in the ninth inning are different than any others. How do you feel about that as a guy you threw a bunch of different innings for the Royals in high leverage situations? Do those last 3 outs when you're trying to close out a game feel any different to you, specifically?
No, I think I've gotten in trouble trying to do too much in the past, letting the situation get too big. But I think if I was able to simplify my approach to the game and allow myself to just think, hey, I'm going out there to get 3 outs. Doesn't matter how, doesn't matter what it looks like. If I get 3 outs, I did my job that night, and that kind of put me in a more stable mindset of all I have to do is like go out there, throw strikes, get 3 outs. That's it. And whether that be in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, sometime. I mean, I remember when I was back in AAA with the Brewers still, I was going out there in like the 3rd or the 4th innings. But I kind of kept that mentality the same. You obviously know that the situation in the 9th is going to be a little bit bigger. It's a little bit brighter. It's like you're closing out a game. That's like what Mariano Rivera did almost, it was like 600 and something times, right? It's like a really huge moment, but I think at the end of the day, you're just out there getting 3 outs. So, like I said, if I'm able to simplify that approach and allow that to be my sole focus, then I'll find more success than failure.
When you come out for the 9th inning here at Coughlin toward the end of the year, they start bringing the lights down. They're playing their music right away, and everything's kind of, and fans are starting to lose a little bit. Was there any percentage? I know you're locked in on the moment. Was there any percentage of you that was like, "Hey, this is pretty cool"?
Absolutely. Well, especially the first time they did it, and
did you know it was going to happen? Or
absolutely. No, it scared me because I was jogging out to the mound, obviously, and all of a sudden the lights go out, and I mean, I don't know what it looks like from the fans' perspective or from, even in the dugout, but, they got all the lights. The lights are out, but there's still lights out in, the center field. But I'll tell you what, man, when I was jogging out there and the lights went down, the floor disappeared and I almost fell on my butt. I forgot how to run because I was like, dude, I don't know where I'm going. All of a sudden the lights go back up on and I don't know, like 3 feet away from one of the field crew dragging
dragging the dirt.
Yeah, dragging the dirt, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I almost ran into this guy. I had no idea he was even there. So
did that first fastball and warming up come out a little hotter than normal?
Oh yeah. I couldn't feel it, but I told myself, "Hey, listen, like this is really cool, but lock back in. Stick to your approach, stick to your process, and do your job." So
yeah. Speaking of emotion. You're a guy. You're as we're talking here, pretty chill personality, low key guy, but you let it eat a little bit. Sometimes you get a big strikeout. How do you keep those emotions in check and not let it get to you as you're on the mound because pitching is such a mental, repetitive thing.
Yeah. It's, I don't know what makes the emotion come out. I think it's just how you're feeling that day. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's hard to explain. I try and, whether it's going really good or going really bad for me, I try and just stay right in the middle, try and stay the same guy. But yeah, like, times come up when it seems like a bigger situation, or I allow it to be a bigger situation, and therefore the emotions come out a little bit more. But yeah, no, it's just it's fun to be out there, man. It's a really cool experience. Every time I go out there, I make sure that I appreciate every moment. Take little mental pictures, right? But yeah, it's just part of the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to compete, you want to win. So
All right, I got a couple more questions for you. Appreciate your time.
yeah,
today.
no, not a problem.
What's your favorite road trip city?
I got a couple answers. I mean, and they're all great, right? They're all awesome. I think Fenway is really cool just because of the history. I was able to, sign my name inside the Green Monster, so it's, how many people can really say they get to do that? So I have to say Fenway. But I like playing in Seattle as well, because in the away clubhouse there's a ice cream machine inside the clubhouse. So I think that's a pretty cool touch. But no, they've all been great. I think every city is special in its own entity, and like I said, going back to the mental pictures, right? You dream of doing all this as a kid, and to see it coming into fruition and have it be a reality in my life is it's truly special. And I just want to take every moment and kind of soak it all up, because you're not going to be able to play baseball forever. So I'm just glad to be here.
What is your hottest sports take? It could be any sport. What's the hottest take that you own?
Hottest sports take, huh? That's a stump question. I don't know. What do you like? Give me an example.
Any like go debate stuff, any rule changes, anything. It can be anything like that. It could be an unpopular opinion you have. Like it can think about anything you see on ESPN. We'll go with that.
I don't really like that new rule in the NFL where the like when they line up to kick off or whatever, they
dynamic kickoff.
Yeah, I don't. That doesn't really do it for me, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if that's a super hot take. I feel like maybe some people will.
I feel like that's pretty fair. Like,
Yeah,
it was just it's more weird than
It's
anything.
weird, yeah, correct. Because I didn't even notice it until, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, when I started kind of paying attention towards the end. I'm not the biggest football fan, right? I'll watch if it's on, but I'll watch the playoffs. Obviously, the Chiefs going for the three-peat, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I noticed that, and I was like, wait a minute, when did they start doing that? That looks weird, right? But I get it. It's for safety of the players, and that that's fine. But yeah, it's just it kind of threw me off more than anything. So
Fair enough. All right, last question here. If you could hop out on the mound and face any player from baseball history, who would you want to face? Not asking you to get a punch out, but just you're standing 60 feet 6 inches from that guy.
Yeah, no, I think it would be really cool to face Barry Bonds. I mean, 'cause that's the king of hitting right there. So
How would you attack Bonds?
treat him like another left-handed hitter. You know what I mean? Every hitter has holes. I mean, his are pretty microscopic, but at the end of the day, you're trying to win, right? So even if it was Barry Bonds in the box, I wouldn't attack him any different than I would anybody that I face nowadays. So
That's awesome.
how the result would end up, no clue. I'd love to find out, but sadly I can't. But even just to have that the ability to say, hey, I faced Barry Bonds, would be really cool.
Well, Lucas, thank you very much for your time today. Look forward to watching you this year, and best of luck in 2025.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me.
Awesome.